silent. ऐसो क्यों बैठ?
नहीं ठीक है. Hi Smiti.
Hey Tanya, how are you?
I'm very good. How are you?
Good.
So just waiting for a couple of people to join us and attendees to join in as well. We'll go live at 3 o'clock.
Sure.
वही कर रहा था.
Hi Parveen, you're on mute.
Sorry. Hi Tanya. Hi Smriti. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Nice to see you again, Parveen, in a short span
Yeah.
of time.
No, thanks, and thanks for the invitation too.
Right. So we're just waiting for a couple of people to join us now, and
Yeah.
and we'll just go live at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
So how's everything going?
Good. I mean, now companies are gearing up to open the offices in phased manner.
Yeah.
We have seen in news also, like Wipro, Infosys, even big IT firms, they are also gearing up.
Yeah. So even we have recently started our operations. We're back to office. It's kind of a nice feeling, except the traffic. But it's people
Right.
feel humans around. Who are neither your friends nor your family. So that social behavior kicks in. You kind of realize, which I think I had completely lost in the last 1.5 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's the feedback from many actually, that everyone needs space. So if all of them are at home, people are not able to give enough space to each other. Sorry, Simriti is saying something? She was on mute.
Nothing, sorry. I was just
Okay.
saying that, it's the same here. Like we've also kind of opened our offices and it's nice to work from outside.
Hi, Jonathan.
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jonathan. How are you? Nice to see you again.
Yes, same here. Sorry about last time,
That's all right. That's all right.
but let me just formally apologize. Some goof up in some schedules, so I missed that session. So I was just worried. I should not play truant again today.
No. It's good to see you.
Hi, Raki.
Hi, Rakhi. How are you?
Hi everyone. Very nice to see
Hi.
everyone.
So we're just waiting for two more of our panelists to join us for the first panel. So basically, I'll just quickly brief you how we'll run through the entire session. Some of you have already been a part of an Observe Now conference, so you know how we essentially do the right session. We'll go live in another 5 minutes. I set up the context, and I'm going to jump, and then I'm going to hand over the session to Smriti as well. She wants to lay a bit of a context from an advantage club point of view as well. She'll take around 5 minutes to do that. And once Smriti is also done, then I'm going to jump into a Q&A. And the Q&A, of course, you do have an idea around, the topic around which we want to discuss. But I think once again, I'll just stress on the importance of being the answers being as personalized from your companies as possible. Yeah. So please help us understand what has worked for you, what hasn't worked for you, your suggestions for your peers, how you foresee the futures of rewards and recognition, the turning point of the R&R space post-pandemic. That's something that I'm really interested to find out from leaders such as yourself. So these are a couple of things essentially that will add some depth to the conversation, and we have around 200 people who will be joining us for the conference as well from all our social media platforms and Zoom as well. So I'm going to take up questions from them as well. So whatever question comes from the audience, it will be directed to any one of you, however we are running the conference. And it's a two panel discussion session. So the first one goes around 45-50 minutes. And then we have another set of speakers who will also be joining us for the second set of panel discussion. And in the second set of discussions, we'll be talking about EWA and how that really, in a post-COVID world, it really impacts in sort of, reducing the attrition levels and, keeping an employee financially, physically, mentally, primarily financially and mentally stable in order to boost productivity. So that's going to be another interesting space for people coming from your background. So I think if you want, you could switch off your video and sort of listen into what your peers are also going to say and, gain as much as you can in the session as well. So yeah, essentially that's going to be it. Mr. Jatin, can you please switch on your video? We can see you've joined. Yes, there you are. Yes, let's do a quick sound check with you.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Just excuse me for a moment, please. Yes, nice to see you, Jatin.
Same here, Tanya.
Just waiting for Mr. Arvind to join us. Can I give a quick cue to my team to just check with Arvind, sir? Okay, so I'm being told he's going to take another 2 minutes to join in. In the meantime, please feel free to interact with each other. I think that's the whole idea of peer-to-peer interaction is the idea of these conferences.
Yeah, Jatin.
I think more than the coping up with high premiums on life and Mediclaim, which is a new.
Yeah, it's too difficult. I mean, insurers are not even ready to give quotes and all that.
They're not quoting. They're facing several.
Yeah, and even if they are quoting, it's like 10 times the old premium, the expiring premium. Very difficult. I think most of the now companies are taking self-insurer approach, that they'll sponsor it from the PNL for some time, 3-4 months and maybe 1 year. Then when the situation improves, then they'll see.
Yeah, I think it's I fairly agree. And I spoke to a few colleagues, and I think many companies are going in that direction. The idea is that because it's a hot topic for us right now, but the idea is that because of the impending wave 3, the reinsurers have hiked prices. But if the wave 3 hopefully doesn't hit us hard,
then it will, specify.
Then you'll see a taper off maybe in January.
Yeah, problem with insurer is that reinsurers are not even ready to take this risk.
Take the risk.
Hi, Mr. Ranvir. How are you?
Yes, all well. Yeah, just that my link through my email isn't working, Tanya. I have to connect through my cell phone.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, maybe you want to try again in a little while, but now that we have so now that we have a full house here, so I'm going to take the liberty to kickstart the session. A quick cue, we'll be going live in another 20 seconds. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope all of you are having a nice day. My name is Tanya Tikku, and I welcome you all to Advantage Club Presents Virtual HR Leaders Conference powered by Observe Now. I'm Tanya Tikku. I'm the editor-in-chief and co-founder of this young B2B digital media startup called Observe Now. What we do is we create knowledge-based news stories that are typically ignored by mainstream media in India. And as a part of our editorial policy, we have now expanded into live stories and live journalism, where we bring in thought leaders and experts such as yourselves on the panel and sort of sit with them to decode how various policies impact us. So today I have a very special set of speakers and two very important topics that need to be dealt with when we talk about a function of the human resources in a post-COVID world. The first one being the most important at this point in time is the R&R space, the rewards and recognition space. And I think it's safe to say that with the advent of pandemic, the modern workplace has undergone a sea change, a profound shift. Now hybrid working, remote working, these are the new normals that we are talking about. Now, the biggest challenge that comes with remote working, which I have sort of encountered in my interactions with the human resource leaders in the last 1.5 years, the biggest problem that is coming up at this point in time is a divided workforce and a diluted company culture. So when we are working around the world, working from home, working from wherever in the world is becoming the new normal, it's very important for the human resource manager, for the talent manager to keep the employees closer and keep them together. And to make sure in the middle of deadly pandemics with the waves coming in and coming out and the kind of uncertainty looming over us, it's very, very important to make their employee feel motivated. And I think when we talk about motivation, recognitions and rewards, I think are the best way to tell your employee that they matter to them and that you care for them. And that's something that we are going to be discussing in the first panel discussion of the day. This is a two-panel session. The first one revolving around the R&R space, and the second one about earned wage access. The details of which in the second panel will be delivered. So for now, I think the most important part is to sort of understand the importance of having a rewards and recognition program in your organization in a post-COVID world. How has the R&R space changed in the post-COVID world, and what is the kind of innovation that leaders such as the ones on this panel have brought into their R&R modules in their specific organizations? And what's the best way to manage your workforce remotely or in a hybrid workspace, as we are all talking about? So these are a couple of points we'll be discussing with the esteemed panelists that I have on my panel. I'm going to take a minute to do a quick introduction for everybody on the panel here. May I please welcome Ms. Smiti Bhatt Deora, co-founder and chief operating officer at Advantage Club. Hi, Smiti.
Hey, Tanya, happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us. May I welcome Mr. Parveen Gandhi, Group Head Total Rewards and Recognition HR Policy and Processes at RPG Group. Hi, Parveen.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
May I welcome Mr. Jatin Gulabni, Specialist Total Rewards OD and Compliances at EdWork.
Hello, everyone.
Chaitan. Thank you for joining us. May I welcome Mr. Arvind Srinivasaraghavan, Heads Rewards and Strategic Workforce Planning at Renault Nissan.
Hello. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Arvind. Thank you for joining us. May I welcome Mr. Jonathan D. D'Souza, Group Head Talent Performance and Rewards at Wells Fund. Hi, Mr. D'Souza.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. May I welcome Ms. Rakhi Malik, Director and Head HR at Carney India.
Hi, good
Rakhi.
afternoon, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. So I think the agenda is set. Smriti, why don't you just take the next couple of minutes and set a perspective for this discussion in terms of the offerings that Advantage Club has in the R&R space and how you feel that the space has changed in the last 1.5 years owing to the pandemic, and really how do you forecast the future?
Sure. That's great. So thank you so much, first of all, Tanya, for inviting me and all of the esteemed panelists. Thank you so much for joining today. I'm just going to quickly share my screen. If you could just give me screen sharing access. I have like the slide, which I might want to just run it through while I'm talking. Okay, perfect. So,
You can see you.
Okay, great. So yeah, so primarily, just to set the context of the call today, just wanted to give you a quick overview on, first of all, why we feel that rewards and recognition as a program is important. How can you overall focus on employee wellness in terms of, whether it's general, financial, and all those things. Also, to basically understand why actually employee engagement has become important, especially in a post-pandemic world. So we've gone through various reports and various different sorts of sources, and we've finalized these major discussion points today. First is that on an average, especially if you're looking post-pandemic, 85% of employees are facing the challenge of being engaged in a work environment. Ever since we started working from home, the physical presence aspect of being in an organization, having that face-to-face kind of interaction set up with other employees, with your managers, with your HRs, all of that has kind of been affected, and hence, employee engagement has taken a very big hit ever since COVID has come into our lives. 81% of employees on an average in a non-engaged organization think about leaving their current jobs all the time. Overall, in general, there have been more than $500 billion of costs which have been incurred due to disengagement. And I don't need to say more in terms of why it is very, very important on engaging employees in the workplace today. And overall, in terms of your replacement cost of an employee, it takes 6 to 8 times a person's salary as a replacement cost, primarily in the sense of when an employee decides to put down their papers to hiring a replacement for them, in general, from like a replacement of an organization, perspective. So because of all of these high costs, and of course, productivity is one another point on top of that, which gets affected overall, it is really, really important to drive different engagement programs in the organization. And HR teams all across the world have been working really hard in ensuring that these sort of problems don't arise. So what do we do overall as Advantage Club? We enable HR teams of organizations to drive such engagement initiatives. We have 2 types of initiatives. One is around the recognition piece, and the second is around general and financial wellness of employees. So we have 3 programs which we provide in general. The first is a general engagement piece of employee perks, where you can get more than 10,000 brand partners who provide exclusive offers to employees of our partnering corporates. Like you'll get special offers on brands like Samsung, Amazon, Flipkart. So the idea is that wherever an employee is spending their money, we should be able to save them something in it. Our recognition and rewards piece is a very comprehensive module built on top of the perks marketplace, where you can essentially digitize all your awarding, all your recognition, all your general gifting budgets on a single place. right from deciding who to award, to empowering managers to provide recognition to employees, to even, running complicated workflows like nomination, etc. We also have different tax saving modules, so you can club that together, club rewards with gifting, tax saving initiatives. So there are multiple ways in which you can drive that whole thing. A third overall initiative in terms of financial wellness is our early wage access program, where you can enable employees to take their salary earlier before the payday, giving them a financial security and an independence in terms of spending the money the way they want to spend it. As Advantage Club, we overall have more than 1 million registered users. We run with more than 400 companies all across the globe in more than 65 countries. One of the USPs of us as a vendor partner is that, unlike most reward recognition solutions in the market, our redemption rates are higher than 90%. Our budget utilization rates range in the range of 95 to 99.99%, thereby making the program highly engaged for employees. The reason we're able to achieve high rates is also because we just don't focus on rewards as a single dedicated program. We have various employee engagement modules which we club on top of that. As a company, we believe that recognition, engagement, financial wellness, general wellness, they all come under eventually the same gamut of services. One drives the other. We run with more than 400 organizations today. A couple of large ones are Concentrix, QuestCorp, Hexaware, Amdocs, and many others. We run with more than 10,000 brand partners where you can, drive different rewards, different perks, different discounts for employees. We're also ISO certified. We have all of the checks and balances which are required right from GDPR compliance to VAPT, BCDR, test reports from like a mid to large size enterprise solutioning perspective. So from a framework formation perspective, like a lot of organizations always struggle with the idea of what are the ways in which I can actually drive recognition within the organization. So I'm going to spend like a minute giving my 2 cents on what we have seen working with different companies all across the world. One is, of course, your monetary recognition, which is like your awarding module where you can run it in different ways. And the second is like a non-monetary appreciation piece. So talking about the non-monetary appreciation piece, what it essentially does is it builds a positive culture within the organization. So say, for example, somebody has helped me in my project and I give them, say, a thank you card. The next time they'll be more warm towards me because it's just like a psychological aspect, right? As human beings, we always want to be appreciated for our work. So recognition really helps in driving that particular piece itself. So through peer-to-peer appreciation, you can enable organizations to drive a better culture within the company. You can have different, like we have a lot of fun with recognition. We drive different sorts of initiatives, like we do thank you weeks. We have gratitude week coming up. We do things like, new joining appreciation week. So when, what you can also do is that when an employee joins the organization, you can have different people in the organization, give them, a welcome card or anything in the sense of welcoming them within the organization. Even festivals can be utilized as an opportunity to drive better culture in which different employees can wish each other, not just on festivals, even on their birthdays, anniversaries, long service associations, and all of those things. So overall, recognition is a great way and a very powerful way of driving positive culture within the company. Now, recognition, when you're looking at peer-to-peer appreciation, it doesn't come at any budgets as well, because they're non-monetary badges which people give to each other, driving a higher force in terms of positivity. The monetary part which comes in is your give awards feature, where you can actually enable managers to drive different sorts of budgets, which could be related to different performance management initiatives, or it could be related to different sorts of, gifting or any sorts of engagement activities which you're running internally. And you can, overall empower them to give those awards to employees. You can also, run different things like nominations, approvals, in which different managers can, nominate other employees, and then there can be different approval setups. Again, it really depends company by company how people are driving these different maker-checker models within their companies. You should also think while creating an R&R framework of how you can socially impact the recognition. So how can you enable different people in the company to be encouraged to appreciate other people who are getting the awards. So you should somewhat have like a social wall where people are showcased every time they're awarded or appreciated. Other people should like on it, comment on it, appreciate others, congratulate them on their achievements as well. A lot of companies also drive things like Hall of Fame or Wall of Fame, where all of the awardees are showcased, thereby adding the value to that particular award, to a higher extent as well. You should also look at a communication module when you're designing a framework for recognition. You should have different ways of running different polls or surveys or feedback mechanisms from employees so that you can then further utilize that information to pump up into your existing recognition program and then overall increase the value of that particular program as well. And of course, analytics is very, very important, where you can enable different ways of running different analytics, getting reports, understanding how exactly your entire function is working. In terms of the financial wellness piece, we provide something called as an early wage access program where you can enable employees to get access to their salaries early. What this program is a replacement of is, during the pandemic, a lot of people were having money troubles. They were going to their HRs would then take exceptions and then provide them little advances to their salaries. We kind of digitize their entire piece. So the way it works is that, you can overall apply for the early access to your wages on the platform. Advantage Club funds it from their own end, and then the next month it can be deducted from your payroll. Other than rewards, you should also think of things in which you can engage employees better by adding things like fun activities. So we have things like fun games, which employees can play with each other. We have things like an internal OLX, again, building communities within organizations itself. We do fun games during IPLs where we, run intra and inter-corporate events. We also have things like hobby clubs where you can build communities of like-minded employees. So you could create things like a photography club, a reading club, a cooking club, and stuff like that. And of course, peer-to-peer appreciation is another very, very good way of engaging with the employees. Just to talk about a simple case study of one of our large clients, Concentrix, we run various modules with them. While of course rewards and recognition is the core of the program, we also run perks, we run hobby clubs, classifieds, fun zone, and other pieces with them. In the past 4 or 5 years of running with them, we've seen a consistent improvement in their ESAT score. So their employee satisfaction score today runs at 98%. They have a 99% budget utilization rate. That means if you put like $1 million in the system, overall $990,000 out of that will be utilized. Our point redemption rates are higher than 95% there. We run multiple initiatives, multiple countries under one portal today. So our objective is to overall create like an end-to-end holistic platform where employees can interact with each other and organizations can run different initiatives without worrying of partnering with multiple products or multiple vendors for a single initiative as well. So yeah, with that, I'd love to go back to the panel now and hear from them what they have done in terms of recognition, how they think of overall rewards as a journey from like an employee being recognized to them redeeming. And over back to you, Tanya, to continue this.
Thank you. Thank you, Smriti. And let me just quickly jump into the most important aspect of the R&R space, and that today is the post-pandemic world, right? So can I ask all of you individually if you could just give me an overview of the kind of trends that you see that have sort of developed in a post-pandemic world in this space, and what have you in your individual organizations also done that could be probably a role model for the others, and of course something that hasn't worked would also be of good use to all of us. So, and if I may request all of you to keep your answers a little crisp so that I can cover more and more during the panel discussion. So I'm just going to go by the way I see everybody on screen. And Raki, I can see you first on my screen. So may I please ask you to start the conversation from here?
Sure. Thanks, Tanya. And thank you, Smriti. That was a very insightful presentation. I made some very quick notes as well. I think one of the key things that, Kani is known for, and, even through all the surveys we do, all the feedback we get even from our alumni, is really the culture and the people that we have.
Right.
And that's really core and intrinsic to any consulting organization, right? How we treat our people and, how the culture kind of comes together. So this is an area which has been, a strong force, a strong focus for us even earlier. But I think with the pandemic coming in and, we've been working from home for close to 19 months now, I think the loss of social capital is one thing that we realized upfront is going to be impacting us very, very badly. So there were certain programs which we had already put together. What we did was the timeliness of recognition, the timeliness of the rewards that we were giving, the flexibility around what we were providing to our employees, all of that had to undergo a sea change. So for instance, we put together a program called the Immediate Impact Award, where earlier we used to tell our leaders that if there is somebody around you, somebody in your team, the peer-to-peer support, or even people who are reporting into you, and you think somebody has done a great job in terms of their, actual day-to-day work, there's an immediate impact reward that you could give them, which could be a day off, which could be, a certain monetary benefit that people get. And what we realized was that we were seeing a lot more immediate impacts actually going out to people. How we supplemented them was that in the town halls that we were doing, we increased the number of town halls, the communication that we were doing to our employees, and the immediate impact awards were now getting talked about and people were getting recognized on a much larger platform. So that's something that we did, which was earlier more like a internal team process. We ensured that everybody in the organization realized. The second thing we did was we tied up our weekly happiness survey or happiness barometer with a recognition program called Kudos, where one, you're asking people, how do you feel about your work-life balance? Are you happy this week? Do you think you've created the right impact? But we also created a platform where we said, you know what, if you're happy with something that one of your colleagues has done, just go out there and raise a hand and say, kudos to this guy. He or she has done a great job. And that's a platform that's available to all Connie employees across the globe. You can just log in and, you can see all the kudos that you've got as an individual. You could, appreciate others. And it's a beautiful forum where everybody gets information about, who's doing well. So I think those are some of the things that we really stepped up.
Aspect of that is also touched very beautifully. I think that was very important during the pandemic when everybody was suffering emotionally, physically.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And so the programs we already had together, I think just amping them up, making sure there was a lot more social recognition. So we started going to social media platforms, recognizing people. HR became like this crisis center suddenly, right? Which none of us were, used to, and everybody suddenly had to play a very different role. So we made sure that we were putting our people out there and recognizing them on social media platforms like LinkedIn, our Twitter page, our, intranet site, saying, here are these people who've really stepped out of their way and, done a great job. So I think a lot of emphasis on recognition, that's what we did in the last 1 year.
Raki, if I may quickly add on a follow-up question to that, do you think in the post-COVID scenario in India specifically, a monetary reward has worked out more with the employees, or something on a fundamental human level, like let's say recognition on social media or whatever? Everybody has some aspect of it in their organization. What do you think works more right now?
I'll be very honest. I think monetary benefits have very limited role to play, not just in the COVID time, but otherwise also. Beyond a certain point, the appreciation, the recognition, the affiliation that you get, when others are recognizing the great work that you've done, the pat in the back, positive feedback reinforcement actually ensures that the behavior is repeated. And monetary benefits are forgotten very soon, right? So we always say experiences count a lot more, but the material things associated with the experience, you'll forget about them. So
and this must work better with the Gen Z workforce or millennial workforce that has joined in. Does it?
Yeah. No, so like I said, see, money matters, right? I'd be wrong in saying, oh, it doesn't matter to me. When we were giving, when people got work from home allowances, when, furniture was given to people, care packages were sent across, of course, people felt happy. But that additional call that they got from a senior person saying, hey, are you all right? Do you need help? Your family is suffering. Can I do something to help you? The humane side of it, which I think at least, when the second COVID wave came in April to June, I think that created a lot more impact as compared to the monetary benefits that we were giving to people. At least that's the feedback we got from all different levels.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Thank you so much, Raki, for giving us that detailed insight. I'll come back to you.
Sure.
Can I quickly move on to Parveen? And can I ask you what has worked out for you in the post-COVID world at RPG?
Yeah, so if you see pre-COVID, during COVID and post-COVID, two big gaps we identify at two different levels. One for the larger employee base. So the physical connect was gone. All unstructured, informal appreciation, recognition, when you give a pat on the back, informal talking, etc., it all went away. Now, how do you fix this gap? And if you see RPG Group, it's combination of like 7 entities where few companies are already digitally ahead. They can still fix, and 3-4 entities are not ready. I mean, they do it in mechanical, I mean, the paper and without any tool. Like we have HML in plantation, people are on field. They are not even checking their email regularly. It's like once in a day. Same way people are at project side. How do we manage this? How do we fix this gap? So I can give you one example where everyone came together on WhatsApp, right from the top leadership to the end and the lowest level in the employee category. Any appreciation from anyone in this chain, it's visible to everyone. Now we also see that, as we have seen in Advantage Club, this presentation, that disengagement 85% and 81% are about thinking of leaving. And we strongly feel that R&R is one of the key value proposition for employee, which can increase productivity and engagement. And what COVID has done is it impacted larger base. See, we cannot fit everyone in our R&R program without digitization. Right. I mean, right? So that's why. So what we are doing now is we are trying to digitize our R&R framework, evolve it, enhance it with digital tools. And second thing, another gap we found is there is no R&R type of R&R category where it's a combination of 3-4 key content. Like award has to be aspirational. It has to be in time, real time, like Raki mentioned. It's very important that timely, delayed appreciation is denied appreciation. Yeah. And then it has to be relevant. Now, how do we we have seen in our existing framework, which is pre-COVID framework, which may not be relevant to the extent now, is annual award, CEO Club award, and like that. It is like once in a year. Now, there is recency effect, recency biases in that. So it's aspirational, but not in time. Same way, if it is in time, it's not valuable. People, like Raki mentioned, people also want a monetary award, and it has to come from top leadership. Now, I have done something in April, I will get appreciated by CEO at the end of the year. It may not matter. So in fact, last week itself, RPG has rolled out group-wide another category of reward that is called CEO reward. And it is irrespective of
award? CEO award.
CEO award, which is irrespective of any frequency, and it is high value amount, 50,000 and more and up to 1 lakh. So it's in top of your existing framework. Just to fix that, creating another category, which is combination of that, it's aspirational, coming directly from the top leadership of the company to anyone across. Now your top, aspirational awards are most likely for senior members because they will create that impact. And what about junior at different level? Post-COVID, what happens, like the degree of impactful work has increased. Earlier, it was like the eligible population may be 5%, 10%, 2%. Now, across the support function or business categories, there is impactful work done, be it related to CSR, wellness, HR, finance. So now we have to, and our framework has to be very flexible to accommodate that. We can't work with traditional framework. It has to be agile, that and it has to be wholeheartedness has to be there, like simplified it. You don't put so many criteria, categories that it becomes very cumbersome process. And last thing I would say that our focus is on experience part. experience for everyone in the value chain. The end user, when it comes through fulfillment or right from nomination, through AI, algorithm, etc. How can we make it more easier for even decision maker to make to select and decide who deserve, who do not deserve, all that. So these are the key focus areas for going forward.
Sure. Thank you so much, Praveen, for sharing those thoughts. I'll come back to you. Arvind, can we have your thoughts on the same and the work that you've done at Renault?
Yes, thank you, Tanya. So I think I'm not going to touch upon few things that Raki and Raki had already said. In fact, it's a social recognition, and I think that's kind of become very, very critical, especially during the during the COVID times and post-COVID times. So, but I think one certain thing that I would want to mention is kind of the recognitions becoming virtual, right? See, you no longer do the pat on the backs, but at the same time, you do that elaborate, exhaustive virtual reward ceremony, right? So which is almost like bringing people on their computers and recognizing them. So this has become a big deal, because I'll tell you why. Because I've always said this, right? Because when you're doing things virtually, you have the opportunity to involve the family as well, and you should see the appreciations that employees receive in front of their family. So you get recognized by your employer, and the first set of people clapping for you and cheering for you is the family which is standing behind you. So it's like a different experience that we could sense with the employees, that so it's my colleagues who's cheering for me on the computers, it's my family standing right next to me and cheering for me. So I think that's a kind of a different experience that COVID has brought in, with all the difficult challenges and things, involving the family, making the family participate, while the employee is getting recognized. I think that's the biggest thing that COVID has made us do. So that I would call out as some of the biggest things, just like the social thing, posting it on LinkedIn, and having the community, your internal Yama groups, so those were all happening always, but this is something very different. This is something very, very unique that COVID has helped us to set out. So that's kind of become very, very sensible and famous as well. So I would want to call about that.
Sure. Thank you so much, Arvind. Jonathan, can we quickly move on to you and understand the kind of rewards and recognition that have worked for you, and the kind of trends also. Let's focus a little on the future as well now, because I think the most common thing I've heard from all human resource leaders in whatever space is that hybrid workforce model is here to stay. So if we are talking about a digital workforce, so how do the digital rewards and recognitions pan out in the next, let's pick 5 years? What do you think would happen?
Sure. So two parts to this. First, as an organization, we are pretty diverse in different businesses, similar to what Praveen just mentioned. So we have those waves and troughs of saying what works in one place will not work in the other place. So we have not drastically changed our framework. What we have definitely done is increased, our culture, purpose, and guiding principles, where those have become more frequent in the digital world, because that's where the connect, or that's where the major engagement happens. The second part is, because of digital, we've been able to do things more timely, which is more of the role performance related activities. Now, the rewards there have become more timely. Also because you don't have to gather people and do a nice event, you just do it on the screen.
Yeah.
It also helps us because business is also dynamic, right? So if we're changing goals every quarter, every 6 months, we're also able to reward every quarter, every 6 months. So that is working really well. And third, many people internally also believe that probably we are not as agile as, let's say, in IT organizations. We proved a lot of people wrong last year internally, saying that we can be equally digital or be equally agile to adapting to the digital world, and keeping it very physical in that sense. And we were one of the early movers in doing an all virtual Founders Day, for example, where it was a mix of physical and digital. The last part, before I go to where are we heading, is very, very clearly we've been iterated to the waves. For example,
What?
Iterative to the waves, COVID waves we are facing. For example, we stopped a lot of recognition when the second wave hit, because you had colleagues who, on their families, who were going through very difficult times. So we actually cut that out. We kept looking. We increased where the human touch happened, where people who stood out and helped. So we changed our recognition models to be apt to the period, just to be mindful of what's happening around us. I think that way, as a group, as a business, we believe in more iteration rather than perfection. So we've been able to ride those waves and change our framework to fit the situation that people are in. So if you ask me from a policy perspective, nothing has changed. From a norms perspective, a lot of things have changed. Now, second part is, where are we heading? Clearly, as we talk about consumer behavior, employee expectations are also changing, right? So what we are trying to clearly do is to look at, do 10 programs, see which 7-8 programs work, and institutionalize those. What we are also seeing as a trend is what you could do today may not work tomorrow. For the simple reason is that new experience or a different experience to consider. So you cannot run a program for more than 3 or 4 quarters, and you have to iterate those programs and make it and focus on the experience, like Rakhi rightly pointed out. It's the experience which matters. So the flavor has to change. Right? So we're seeing the changes. The good part is the use of technology, where to focus on experience, you can do the mundane, regular tasks by using platforms, and increase touch by doing where the MD visits the house or the business head meets for a cup of coffee. We can do that much more now that people are vaccinated and all of that. So we're trying to balance it out. How will this pan out? I think from my perspective, very, very clearly, there's a very fine line of how do you not only manage generations, but how do you manage people with mindsets of being on the scale of introvert to extrovert, right? Because extroverts are able to live fairly well in the digital world. Introverts may go into a shell. So I think it's going not only generational, it's also going on personality type, right? Am I more in your face, or am I happy sitting behind a screen and waiting for somebody to recognize me, right? So for us in the HR team is very clear, try to see how can we increase touch points by leveraging technology. I think that's where it's going to head. Secondly, how well do people adopt to gamification? So training them to adopt to gamification is more important, because that's where the adoption will come in. Else, whatever digital platforms you try to put, the world is changing so fast, people may just drop off. So keeping people engaged onto platforms becomes a very critical aspect for us in terms of our teams. That's where we are going.
Jonathan, a quick follow-up question to that. Now that we are talking about dealing with a multi-generational liquid workforce, do you think the rewards and recognition will now also be, while you're framing the policies for the future, you'll also be framing them according to the generation of the workforce that you are targeting? Do you think, because there's no one size fits all, right? And now liquid workforce is a thing of the future. So will that impact the policy?
In a big way. I think we're moving from one size fits all to one size fits a particular grade to actually with bespoke across. And I think we are now beginning to see a lot of stuff getting bespoke to the last mile. And I think that's where technology helps you, because you can do a lot of stuff if you are able to leverage technology well. And we have tried, we have experimented. Like, maybe I don't have to be honest, I don't know what is it right today, is it wrong tomorrow? But we are increasingly experimenting with technology. We're trying to see, what kind of data do we get when we launch platforms? What kind of adoption are we seeing? What kind of feedback are we getting? Who is giving that feedback? What age group is giving that feedback? What type of a personality is giving that feedback? So we're doing a mix of digital and personal touch to get that feedback, to see what works well. And because we are so diverse as a business, what we try to do is, if something works well in business A, we try to see and import it into business B with some changes to fit the cultural and the environmental situation of business B. So definitely get a lot of that. And I think this is what I'm seeing is the frequency of iteration is definitely going to go higher than what we were doing maybe pre-COVID. I think earlier you would put a program for 2 years, 3 years, and you just run it every quarter, every 6 months. Today you put a program for a year, run it every quarter, some places every month. but you may have to change the experience around it very, very clearly.
Fair enough. Thank you. Thank you so much, Johnson, for that perspective. Chaitan, can I quickly move on to you and understand from you the kind of work that you've done in this space and how do you really forecast the R&R space in the coming 5 years?
Thanks, Tanya. Yeah. So actually, all of them have already taken what I was about to say. So either I say +1 or I say pass in the interest of time. So yeah, all right. So so I will begin by saying that marketing has 4 P's. Even HR has 4 P's. Price, place, product, promotion. Price is the compensation that we offer to the employees for their services. Place is the work environment, that the culture that we offer to the employees. Product is the non-monetary, I would say, facilities or the benefits that the employees access on the workplace. And promotion is the internal branding strategy to retain the best talent, and external branding strategy to attract the best talent. So HR also has 4 P's. Now coming on to what we have done as an organization to possibly drive this rewards and recognition agenda for the organization and reward people who've gone over and above the call of duty is we are actually an Infosys group company, Edgeworth. So we are around 3 lakh employees all across the globe. So when it was lockdown, there were 3 lakh employees who were not working from the office, were working from home, and 93% of the employees immediately were made to work from home. So it all it all actually came down to the fact that business continuity was the most important aspect, as well as ensuring the safety of the employees. So the people were there who were ensuring, I mean, they were working over and above to ensure business continuity is there by giving laptops at home where people did not have laptops to ensure that I mean the network, the applications like Teams, Zoom, everything is working so smoothly for employees, and some policy changes were happening so that employees can work from home. It supports working from home. So we did reward people as COVID warriors, people who did over and above what was expected out of them, and ensured business continuity for a large organization like us. In addition to that, we believe that there was a need because there was a disconnect now. There was, as everyone told, that people were connected in office. People had 10, 11, 12 hours of time that they were sharing with their colleagues. Now it practically became zero in terms of the time that they were sharing with colleagues. So there was a need to bring about a recognition platform. And we launched Spot Awards, which was non-monetary recognition, but we gamified that Spot Awards, wherein we ensured that people get to know who got the highest Spot Awards in the quarter, and basically recognizing them with certain kind of other value award, or possibly I would say a culture ambassador, or displaying something which is the value of the organization. So those kind of things was something that we did. There were other awards which we were doing. So earlier, I mean, if I have to tell, there was a trainer, I would say a ring master, or I would say a policeman who ensured that the training man hours of the organization is completed. But there, right now, it was employee who had the ownership to take up their training agenda or own their personal development. So that is where we also gave awards recognizing that, I mean, this person has developed on certain skills. So those awards were also given to the employees. So this is one thing which we did on that aspect. Now coming on to the annual award, as everybody told, the red carpet award for every organization, wherein people used to wait for the coveted award ceremonies. What we did was a prototype or a smaller version of the annual award. We launched it on quarterly basis, so that people can be recognized more frequently, more often, and that helps in developing a culture of high productivity and high performance. So that's broadly, Tanya, what we did in this space. What I would now want to call out, which we've not done and which possibly I would want to explore in the coming years, is that we need to link rewards, which is compensation, also to the recognition score. So when I say recognition score, so right now what organizations are doing is we have a performance scale, we have a potential matrix that we evaluate individual on, and basis that we have a reward strategy that this category of employees will get a 20% increase, this category of employees will get a 15% increase. We need to bring that reward score angle also in the picture, wherein after the year is completed, the leaderboard. So segregating employee basis, X-men, X-women, or basically superheroes of the organization, and then differentiating the salary that we give to the employees, so that there is a culture of high engagement and high productivity. Yeah, high performance. Yes. So, so this is what is one thing which we can introduce. I believe that rewards is not only something that could be, I would say, monetary. I think there is the need to bring people together. As people rightly said, we need to involve families, wherein we give a thank you card. I mean, you have been so supportive, even those difficult times that we had done as an organization, and because of you, your spouses have done exceptionally well in the organization. So that recognition definitely has to be there. And what we need to do is provide experiences to the employees. I mean, if you classify employees as X-men, X-women, or superheroes, then what is it that you're doing differently? Put them into a fast tracker experience program, wherein give them experiences such as a horse riding voucher, or experience of so maybe a dinner date.
Absolutely. I see where you're going with this, Jatin. Thank you so much for sharing those insights, Jatin. Very interesting, and I'm also, in a way, very excited to sort of understand that all of you are willing to do that experiment in the coming years to see how the space develops, because there's going to be an inflow of a very different generation of workforce, which honestly speaking is from some other planet. So I think that's going to be another challenge that all of you might face in the coming years, but of course very exciting. Smriti, can I quickly move on to you now? And you've heard all the panelists, you've heard their challenges, and you've heard the kind of thought that goes behind in terms of creating an R&R module in their organization. If I may ask you, what in your opinion is the main objective of having an R&R program in the organization?
Yeah, sure. So primarily, let me just talk about, why companies do rewards, and, what is overall, like, a budgeting setup from, whatever we've seen over the years after our conversations with different organizations. So typically the first and foremost objective is to drive certain benefits beyond your salary. Because say, for example, today I want to award somebody for a job well done, or for, say, abiding by the company cultural values. If I give them, say, 1,000 rupee addition in their salary, in their paycheck, they'll probably get so offended they'll leave the job, right? Now, instead of that, I am attaching that 1,000 rupee to an award. I am digitizing that entire experience and making it not just like I'm giving you 1,000 rupees, I'm giving you like an entire end-to-end experience of being awesome and doing something amazing. Another reason for, maybe I talk a lot about psychology, and I believe a lot in that psychological analysis. What in psychology, they have something called as a cookie model, which is like a positive reinforcement model. So if you're giving, say, 70% of a group a cookie, the remaining 30% also get incentivized to get that cookie. So instead of, negatively reinforcing employees, you're positively reinforcing them by creating a very nice cultural setup in which people are getting I'd say more excited to, kind of contribute more to the organization. It also adds to employees really understanding what the company stands for. Like, if I'm just going to work, I have a 9 to 6 job, I go, I do my work, I come back. It doesn't solve the purpose of me really getting, affiliated with my organization, because typically I don't really understand what are the company values, what are the things the company cares about, how can I contribute beyond my job, regular job description, by also, contributing to different things. So I've seen organizations give awards around employees, like there are experimenter awards, there are innovator awards. There are companies who have specific criteria of getting these awards. So I know one of our clients, they have like an innovation award in which they have this set up every month, every once a month, in a month every year, when they welcome ideas from like all of the employees, that you come up with different innovative ideas, they collect all of those ideas, and then they give those interesting innovation awards. And eventually it also helps in building the company's vision, because as an organization, by running such interesting rewards, you can also add to future products. The product team can actually get like a lot of benefits out of it. So different companies like have different modules, and it really depends on what's your business objective in running those recognition programs. But these are very simple and very cost effective ways of driving your business objectives.
Fair enough. Thank you, Smriti, for those thoughts. We're running short on time, so I'm going to ask the next question, but I'm going to ask all of you to keep it literally within 30 seconds, 30 to 50 seconds at best. Can all of you, from your understanding of the space, help me understand what was really the turning point for R&R space? And you can't say COVID, of course, because that's the generic answer, right? Because we all know that changed the game in a big way. But what was really the turning point when you as leaders realized, okay, this way it's not working? We really need to create an awards, a rewards, an impact sort of a situation in the R&R space, so that we drive maximum productivity, so that we retain the employees, so that we lower the attrition levels. What was that turning point for all of you in your careers in this space? Raki, I'm going to start with you.
Sure. So Tanya, at least with Kani, with our organization, it wasn't really COVID. I think, like I'd mentioned initially, because we are not selling any products, it's only tacit knowledge, it's only about people. We recognized long time back that the need to have rewards and the right recognition for our people was very, very critical. And that's the reason a lot of reward programs were actually institutionalized, I would say about 4 years back. I think when we reached a certain scale and we realized that it's now important for us to not just go and have a cookie cutter approach. We need to have rewards. We need to have recognition, which is more bespoke, which really looks at not just the skills but also the values that people are carrying. How we can use the rewards for culture building. So for us, it's about individual motivation. It's about engagement. And it's also about celebrating the right examples and helping other people understand that positive behavior leads to more positive culture and a much more positive work environment. So we've been doing this for a very long period of time, and like I said, COVID just kind of amped it up a little bit. We started doing the same things a lot more, using the digital platform a lot more predictive analytics. But this is something we've believed in for a very long period of time, that right rewards for what is aspirational for people, very, very important, and more experience-led rather than just monetary rewards. So that's what we've been doing.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much, Raki, for those thoughts. Parveen, I'll quickly move on to you and have your thoughts on this.
Yeah. So even through our internal surveys, the very common feedback and consistent feedback we have been receiving was that people don't feel valued. And then they really associate it with R&R. Like they need really authentic, genuine appreciation and timely appreciation. Otherwise, it looks like even if they are doing good job, they are not appreciated. Then indirectly, in turn, they don't feel value. And it's really very, very important to retain, attract, engage people. So that was the
turning point. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Parveen, for those thoughts. Arvind, can I quickly move on to you and sort of understand the turning point from you?
Yes, two key aspects, right? See, right rewards, timely rewards, rewarding the right behaviors. So all these were, always existing. But yes, but one key important thing that I would want to call it as, see, we've always been recognizing and rewarding the efficiency, right, or the effectiveness. I think what has happened is start recognizing the resilience as well. The toughness that somebody brings in, right? See, the ability to contribute with the same level of efficiency, even though you're working from home, you're not interacting with your team. See, people have adopted a new way of lifestyle, right? See, as much as we say, people are working from home, it's quite tough to work from home, coordinating virtually, getting into, calls after calls in your Microsoft Teams is not easy, right? So that's going to be the new norm, and people have adopted to this pretty well, so that, I would say, in my view, is also something. When you start recognizing such resilience that people have brought in, I think that has made a difference.
Sure. Arvind, thank you so much for those thoughts. Just something that I want to say before I move on to Jonathan and Jatin, the two J's on the panel. I've actually launched a poll that really talks about how you understand the rewards and recognition space. So can I just literally take 30 seconds to tell all the people who have joined us on Zoom, and all of you, the panelists as well, to just take 10 seconds of your time and just give us a Q&A, just give us a response on that. That's really going to help us assess where you are in this space. Having said that, thank you so much, Arvind, for your thoughts. So, Jonathan, can I quickly move on to you and sort of understand the turning point from you?
Turning point, I'll talk about the current, but I mean, for me, the fundamentals of reward and recognition do not change. I think they remain the same, but the turning point which I've seen in the recent era is very, very clearly that, taking feedback for who you're creating these programs, and allowing them to participate in creating these programs. I think it has gone beyond the sphere of HR trying to do things. It's more getting people involved, because at the end of the day, it is your customer who decides what kind of experience they want. And for all of us, I think the customer at the end of the day is the people we work with, right? So for us, it's become more of keeping our ears onto the ground, having much more forums of what kind of reward should have. I think that has been a major turning point, where today I no longer believe that rewards and recognition should culminate from HR. I think we just provide a service of seeing what is the experience we will create, and I've actually latched on to Raki's words there, and getting the right data points to show that this is working, and across what demographics does this work. I think that is what will keep it alive and help us to iterate or improve over time.
Right. Thank you so much, Jonathan. Jatin, over to you.
Okay, so for us, it was not pandemic. It was much earlier than we thought to bring R&R. First, and the most important, was continuous recognition, to have the need of continuously recognizing people. Then basically to provide forum to bring people together so that people can recognize and appreciate each other. Then move beyond the Maslow's law of hierarchy. I mean, do something beyond that. Recognize people, appreciate people for the work that they do. Then driving values, which are most important to the organization, and the culture attributes. Now that I've completed it in less than 1 minute, any R&R for me, Tanya?
I'm sorry. Yes, you were saying any R&R for you now that you've completed in the next 10 seconds. That's a very difficult spot to be in. Why don't you make a suggestion, Jatin? How do we reward all the people who take out their time, energies in the middle of a working day to give us insights on the human resource spaces? Why don't you make a suggestion on that, and let's do a separate session on that?
No, Tanya, I mean, I was just kidding. So thank you so much for you for providing such a platform wherein we can learn from each other. What are the practices? What is it that they feel should be done? Hearing out from the industry leaders is definitely a brilliant experience, Tanya.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the most important aspects of doing these conferences as well, so that we facilitate a peer-to-peer learning from all of you. And of course, the greed here for us is to understand the space better, to understand the future, to understand the present, to understand the challenge. But for all of you, I think this exchange is priceless. And all of you are, of course, connected in your networks as well. And through Observe now, also now that you have this kind of connect, I think all of you together can build a better R&R space. And with that, I'd like to say thank you to all the panelists on the first panel. Smriti, Parveen, Jonathan, Rakhi, Jatin, all of you, thank you for your insights. Recording of the session would be available on Observe Now's Facebook page in an hour after we end the second panel discussion of the day. But if you want, all of you can still stay logged in because we have another set of panel that's going to be launching in another 2 minutes. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Tanya.
Tanya.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
all the panelists. Thanks all the.
Thank you all the panelists. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. May I request the panelists for the second panel to please switch on their videos and attendees to please stay put. We have another interesting session that's going to go on for the next hour. Hello, Harry sir, how are you? Sir, you're on mute.
Great going.
Thank you for joining us. Nice to see you, Vinay, again after a long time.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I hear some fantastic news from your side as well today.
Yes.
Very well done. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's a big day for us.
Yeah. Very well done.
Thank
Good
you.
to see Rachita and Gauri as well back on.
Hi.
We keep bumping each other on
Yes.
a lot of.
Yes, sir. Hi, Gauri. Nice to see you again.
Thank you. And we are in matching today.
Yes. Hi, Rachita. How are you? So nice to see you again.
Tanya, likewise, and congrats again.
Yes, thank you so much. And of course, Saurabh, how are you doing? Thank you for joining us and thank you for giving us the idea to create a platform like this and bring together these industry leaders.
Thank you, Tanya. Very glad to be here. And thanks to all the panelists for joining the panel as well. And thanks a lot for organizing all of this. It's fantastic what you guys are doing and we'd love to collaborate.
Thanks, Saurabh. And I hope all of you had a sense of what we were discussing in the first panel discussion of the day as well. That primarily revolved around the rewards and recognition space and how it has changed over the course of last 1.5 years, going into the pandemic. And some really interesting insights were shared by the panelists over there. And I think the common point in all that is that everybody is willing to expand. Everybody is looking out for options to reward people immediately, to figure out ways how to reward and give an immediate impact reward to the multi-generational liquid workforce that's going to be a part of the entire country's workforce in the coming years. So those are a couple of big takeaways that I have from the first panel. Now the second panel is primarily going to be revolving around earned wage access, a relatively new concept that has sort of come up and has changed its definition in a post-COVID world, because that was a time where each and everybody, a lot of us in the workforce needed that early access to the salaries that we had because of a crisis, of an unprecedented crisis that struck us in the form of the pandemic. So a couple of things that I wish to discuss in this panel is understanding the fact that you think earned wage access would really help us to create a more caring environment at workplace. Will it really improve the employee well-being and create a financial security for employees, hence drive a productive workforce? And what kind of strategies are you leaders in your organizations employing to create a better workforce using the EWA at this point in time? So may I just take a second to welcome all the panelists here on the second panel discussion of the day. I welcome all of you to Advantage Club Presents Human Resource Leaders Virtual Conference powered by Observe Now. My name is Tanya Tikku and I'm the editor-in-chief and co-founder of Observe Now. Please allow me a moment to welcome all the panelists for today. May I welcome Mr. Saurabh Deora, co-founder and CEO at Advantage Club. Hello, Saurabh.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, it's my pleasure to be here. I'm glad to be part of the panel.
Thank you for joining us. May I welcome Ms. Rajita Singh, Head HR at Broadridge.
Thank you, Tanya and team.
Thank you for joining us. May I welcome Mr. Vinay Trivedi, Global Head HR at TerraPay.
Lovely coming back again on the platform.
Thank you so much, Vinay. May I welcome Mr. Chaitan Prakash, Head HR South Asia at the British Council.
Thanks, Tanya. It's good to be back. Thank you.
I don't think you would recollect, but Chaitan, we had met around 3 years back at the embassy. Do you recall that?
Could be. I think I would have probably missed that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll connect separately on that. But
sure,
nice to see you again.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry I got a bit late, but good to see everybody, and hi everyone. Sorry I'm a bit late.
That's all right. Thank you so much for joining us. Ms. Gauri Das, Head HR at India Factoring and Finance. Hi Gauri, thank you for joining us.
Hi Tanya, and it's good to be back. And the topics that you come up with, they are really amazing. So I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for joining us. May I welcome Dr. Harry CD, Executive Vice President and CHRO at Ascent Telecom.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much for joining us. Saurabh sir, can I quickly, put the first question across to you and sort of understand EWF being a zero risk-free solution for employers. It helps company to conserve their working capital. This enables the HR personnel to play an active role in improving the business value. So is being said. Do you think that's something human resource as a function should now care about in a post-COVID world? Has this been a trend before COVID as well?
Yeah, I think this as a problem statement has been there before. It's just that post-COVID, it has become under forefront because a lot of employees actually face trouble around this. So this has become more relevant post-COVID, but as a problem statement, it has been existing for a while where employees want to access their salary before the payday due to any XYZ reason, starting from some personal hardship to just a desire to shop somewhere. Earlier, I think it was more about like desire and willingness, then emergencies and situation. But of course, post-COVID, it has become more of a necessity than a nice to have. And from a financial wellness point of view, if HR can play a role there, I think it can be a transforming experience for the end users.
Could you bring in the Advantage Club perspective in here as well quickly, just in another 30 seconds as to the kind of work that you are doing in this space?
So at Advantage Club, we are enabling companies to drive early wage access via the platform itself, where the entire corpus of that like early wage is managed by us. So you don't have to take any worry about that, nor you have to worry about the cases in case employee absconds or does anything like that. So in a way for HRs, we create a solution which removes all the pointy edges around the product and at the same time makes the experience completely seamless for the end employee. There are use cases in which people can draw accesses to their salary by using the platform without any additional cost on anyone, neither on the company nor on employee, creating like a further win-win solution for all the stakeholders in the transaction.
All right. Thank you so much, Saurabh, for those thoughts. Rachita, can I quickly move on to you? And my question here would be, of course, pandemic. I mean, that's the big elephant in the room, which has to be addressed and has changed so many things. It has, in a way, highlighted in the human resource space as well the gap between employee well-being initiatives and how it should be evolved in the future of the workplace. What measures do you particularly feel should be taken for financial security of the employees now that we're in a post-COVID world and nobody knows how many waves are still to be seen? It's a very tricky time.
Yeah, and it's also a very tricky question, right? The minute it comes to finances, it gets very touchy and feely, not just for the employee, but for the organizations as well. While we do have companies like Advantage Club who would say that it's all right, but this concept, like you rightly said, has been in existence since 2015 plus. Many companies in the US have already gone for it. If you look at it from an India standpoint, and this is not just an HR initiative, right? When you come up with things like this, you need finance to be equally on board with HR, when you're rolling out something on financial security. And many a times, depending on the type of organization you're in, there is a possibility that we will want to take the risk or we will be very risk averse. So if you are, and it's also very funny and odd that most of the fintech organizations and banks, and I'm generalizing it, would not necessarily want to get into an EWA mode at all for several reasons, right? But your point, so if you were to design something on financial security and come up wherein there's minimal to zero liability from a company standpoint, I think it boosts the culture, it boosts retention. I mean, is a very incorrect word in today's world. The last 6 months have been a roller coaster ride for the industry across. So I'm not sure about retention, but I think it's going to be about the culture, it's going to be about the connect and the sense of belongingness. So that's my take on that front.
Sure. Thank you so much, Rajita. I'll come back to you to follow up on that. In the meantime, Vinay, can I quickly move on to you? And I think Rajita, made a very interesting point that the finance also has to be on board with the human resource for when we talk about such a complicated space of EWA. Can you help me highlight a couple of more changes, a couple of more challenges that probably come an HR leader's way to enable such policies? Because, for an HR leader, the employee well-being is at the heart of it. But what are the major challenges that you might have faced in this space?
The major challenge is for organizations to walk the talk. So in fact, I'm talking to some companies right now through whom we can do these arrangements. But we should trust our people. When our people ask for a salary advance, we go into calculation of what if the person leaves, what happens if we do not have recovery. So where are you trusting your people? I mean, the biggest challenge today for any HR organization to create these policies is, do they trust their people? Right? That's the major challenge. The day organizations say, yes, we trust them, we'll set aside 10% of our working capital funds or needs, 5%, 10%, depending on how it is, and allocate it to any such request that comes in, it becomes easier. Then finance will not ask you questions because they would have budgeted for it, allocated it, and then you're okay to use it. So we're looking at various means through which we could do that.
Okay, thanks, Vinay. I'll come back to you. Gauri, same question goes for you. I think we really want to understand the major challenges in this space. I think trust is a very important factor that Vinay highlighted as well. Do you really trust your organization, and to what extent you trust your people? And when you talk about trust, how do you really build that trust as well? I think that's something very important that needs to be addressed here.
Yeah, and I think Vinay said it rightly that it has to start from the organization, not from employees. Are we keeping that money separately? But Saurabh highlighted that there are cases where it's happening, but I'm not sure how it works when it comes to legalities, the PF and all of it. And then there is a habit, and we are all driven by our habits. So how does that work out? Because it might not end up that people are in debt by the time it's end of the month because they utilize their salaries already. So these are three things that I see as challenges: the legal one, the mindset, and the habit that we have had already. So how are we going to tackle these? I'm sure Saurabh would throw some light on that. So these are the challenges.
Right. I come back to Saurabh at the end of this round as well, so that he has a better sense of the kind of challenges that are being faced by the industry. Dr. Harry, can I quickly come on to you and also understand from you the biggest challenge in implementing a process like an EWA?
Sustainable business. When you have a sustainable business, you can always plan for a continuous, uninterrupted rewards and recognition, or salary and benefits, or advances and salaries. So when you and me cannot build a sustainable business, when you and me are not part of a sustainable business, where will the resources come from? So during this pandemic, what has affected this world? What has affected the medium and probably lower scale businesses is sustainability. Many businesses have failed. Employees have refused to come to work. Employees have refused to take that interest in being part and parcel of an organization. When there is no consistency, when there is no contribution to the sustainability of business, what can we expect from the organization? Especially, you can think about organizations which are into essential services. Wherein there are a number of doctors who have resigned from the hospitals, moved out, fearing for corona or COVID. There are a number of nurses or health professionals who have left the hospital and moved away. Can we call that these are contributors to sustainable business at a time when you actually need them? Any business for that matter, when it is sustainable, will have a program, a plan to ensure that there is the employees are really supported at a critical situation like this. For example, we at Ascent, which is again an essential services organization, we are into telecom. We provide you the network. We have connected, the connect between you and me is provided by us. But then there are thousands and thousands of employees in the field who make sure that this happens. So when all these things are happening, then there is a positive approach, a proactive approach towards an employee need. So what we did in our organization was that 1 month's salary in advance that we paid. Number two, we paid 1 month's a bonus to manage employees during this period of struggle. We have provided with many more such, insurances or benefits so that, employees are supported and they are helped. Earned wage access is a very wrong word to use, in my opinion. There is no such thing called earned wage access. We are paid for what we deliver. We are paid for what skill we have acquired and what skill do we use and what skill do we use to deliver what results. So at the end of the day, our own saleability brings in the kind of a revenue. The kind of a revenue that we get is the kind of a saleability that we have developed for ourselves. So when that saleability is a big question at a time when it is supposed to be critical, then there is nothing called access to the wages.
Right, right. Very interesting perspective, Dr. Harry. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'll come back to you with a follow-up on that. Mr. Chaitan, I'll quickly move on to you and sort of have you give us a perspective of the challenges in this space.
So see, I think I'll give on a bit on challenges, but I think it's not different from what was being said earlier, actually. I think for us, any kind of advance, or we can call it in different nomenclature, technical terms. Reality is that I think the philosophy that we follow, and I think our policy is very a kind of a global thought that we have, in all the countries we operate, is take care of the employees. As simple as that. You take care of them, they'll take care of your business. So I think if you ask me, for me, and I think this is my personal bit as well, if you take care of them, frankly, I know, in fact, we have had advances in different situations that we have given, or we have given advances for a couple of months as well. And for the simple reason, obviously there has to be a situation. You don't want to kind of do it in all. So, and then which I think, as I think the other my co-panelist today also said, so obviously that's there. There are risks, definitely there are risks. But I think the way we look at it is more like, see, whatever checks we have to do, whatever that cultural fitment to everything we do it right in the beginning. And we go with a very clear intent of laying trust in our employees. And I think that's what, trust wins you the trust back again. So I think that's the bit which I would say. There can be some 1%, not even 1%, 0.2%, 0.3% people where it may happen that you may have a bad experience, but you can't make that exception become the rule. That would be very unfair. Right? The second bit is that the other thing that we also have is we have benevolent funds, which we extensively use, where we do not even look at any kind of obligation that somebody needs to come and pay back. Right? We thoroughly review those applications and we look at it. But I think our clear perspective, as I said, is keep employee first. I think if you ask, and I think that makes life much easier, simpler, and I think that's what inculcates that culture of trust. From a risk perspective, yes, finance risk in HR, and I think largely it's managed through a very cross-functional intent. So we understand that we have a lot bit to kind of weigh in here, but as I said, I think what precedes everything is employee well-being and safety, and this is not just monetary. We have a host of other things where we spend money, which so we do not see it in from that perspective. As I said, I think what precedes anything is employee. Now on the risk side, I do agree that there can be risk, as I said, but I think the fact is, if you look at the benefits of it, it overweighs, and I think it kind of outweighs those. I mean, we might have, I don't recall if we had any kind of such instances where people would have, but I think if at all people have come back, they've come with very genuine requests, and in such cases, if taken case by case. I think that's, Tanya, if you ask me, I think that's the intent. But if you ask, like Saurabh was mentioning about, it is vital. It is vital. See, any employee for that matter, when they are in distress, and I think pandemic kind of put every one of us in distress in one way or the other. So the fact is, this is where people look at the organization, and this is the time when organization make that deeper connect with the employees. Not the fact that, you might have whatever fatter pays or pay increases, or it's in the time of distress, as we say, that you get to know your good friends. That is how you get to know the organizations as well. That's what my personal view is.
Okay. Thank you so much, Chaitan. Before I move to you, Saurabh, there is a poll that I have launched in the first panel only, and the poll basically talks about where all of you are at the moment in terms of your R&R module and also your thoughts on EWA. So if you could all take just like 10 seconds to answer all the questions in the poll, that will give us a broad sense of your thought process. And that this poll is open to all the attendees and all the panelists on the screen as well. So please take out 10 seconds to vote for this poll. Saurabh, back to you. You've heard the challenges from a diverse set of leaders representing the diverse industries. How do you think Advantage Club or organizations in this space can really help clear the mindset of the leaders in the human resource space to execute and implement a tricky policy like EWA? That's what I'd call it, from my understanding.
Thanks a lot, Tanya. No, I'm totally with everyone that there are, this is not as simple as giving a gift to an employee. This typically requires more work. First of all, from the HR team side, you need finance team buy-in. And if you're doing on your own, then you have to create a corpus of your own. Like when I mentioned that 5 to 10% of the budget can be kept aside, or whatever the salary structure can be kept aside for these use cases. And making all those happen is where the problem lies. Like if you have to get a buy-in from the finance team to kind of set that money aside, it becomes a big problem. And ultimately, while the risk is low, like there are 0.2 to 0.3% people who will probably not pay back, who might not show up to work, and you would not feel that in an alternate world, if you've not given them early wage or salary access, then probably you would not have covered for that money for that employee. Those scenarios can happen, and in real world, since this is something already mature in US and some of the other developed markets, those scenarios happen. And that's where a company like Advantage Club or other solutions like us start playing a role, in which one, you don't have to build that corpus or yourself. We can give the corpus from our end. The risk associated with people not paying completely gets transferred to us. So in a way, the finance queries that you typically have around workflow and risk are completely taken care of. Plus, we do some sane validations on our end as well, just to ensure that people are not using it a lot. And this is just a starting point. Eventually, the story changes around helping people not needing early wage, which seems a little counterintuitive, but it kind of starts from giving early wage, but at the same time, start advising people how to manage the money better so that they don't land into this situation again. So it's a broad financial wellness as a problem statement, which starts from a short-term solution in which we pay the money back to user, or rather pay a portion of the salary in advance, maybe a few times, and then start advising them to start managing their finances better in different ways to not land up here again.
Okay. Thank you, Saurabh, for giving us that perspective. Vinay, I believe you have a point to make.
Yeah, I mean, see, while we're talking about this as a big deal, but most organizations have a well-drafted salary advance policy in place already for contingencies. While they may not aggressively be using it, what we are saying is that you, instead of maybe an employee taking it once a year, which could be 3 months or 4 months of their salary that gets returned in 12 months, EMIs, etc., be prepared for smaller tranches of that request coming in. It's more, we say we have to be agile, we have to be flexible in this VUCA world. This is one of those which already exists, and how you can make it more flexible to provide that as an actual benefit, especially for millennials who may have short-term requirements and can run into different problems, really. Sorry, I just had to make that addition.
Yeah, just to add here, Vinay, the alternate that people have been using historically is where the problem lies. Like, I think we all are probably not the TG and would not have used it. But if you go and talk to millennials and the younger population, the alternate B2C lending options that they take, they pay 8 to 10% of the amount that they take in terms of interest, and rather not annualized interest, direct cost. And that's where the debt trap kind of stands. It's just surprising what is happening in the market. But we know of companies which are like having IRR of like 150, 200, 300% in B2C market, who are catering to this as a solution without early wage, just as a short-term loan product. So this becomes much more efficient way of covering for those use cases as well. And removing all the social barriers around asking the money from the organization, because there's a lot of psychological barrier around that as well. And the moment it is rolled out as a policy, it becomes a lot more easier for people to kind of access such a solution.
Okay, thank you so much, Saurabh, for sharing your thoughts here. Can I? Oh, I didn't realize my video's off. Okay, can I move on to the next set of questions? And Rajita, I'll quickly bring you in to sort of understand your perspective here. Do you really feel that an EWA policy helps you as an HR leader to build a better employee experience? And if we talk about the reality of Indian corporates, do you think they are ready to create this pay on the go culture in the organizations right
now? If you ask me right now, no. But will organizations and leaders who are in senior leadership positions and running organizations be open to it? The answer is yes. The reason I call it out is I want to bring in the gig economy, in place. While we're saying that, this will help retain talent and things like that, quite a few of the organizations are not wanting a lot of people full-time with you, right? There are certain organizations that have come up and said that, stay with me for 2 years, just work on this project end to end, and then, we'll figure later. So if you are going to get done, or, and sorry for the wrong analogy, but if you call this speed dating, right, in that sense, so implementing an EWA in such a scenario will become a lot more easier, right? Because people are there, they earn and they go. There's a lot that happens already in the retail sector and in the unorganized sector. I'll give you an example. Like, for example, in the logistics industry, and if you take, for example, the fashion industry, where you don't necessarily have people working with you, they get paid how much, by the day, whatever they've earned. So it's not that it's not there, but, for sophisticated, organizations that have a lot of governance and corporate audits and, external audits on financial frauds and things like that, it will take time to bite. But other than that, I don't see a reason why organizations will not sign up for it, because that's the future, yeah, and that's what's going to happen. And not everybody who's a 40-year-old or a 50-year-old is going to be in an organization. You will have the 20-somethings who will come and who will go. There's data that was published, I think 2 weeks back or something like that in India, there were almost about 80% of financial stress in the age group of 20 to 35. So that's the age group that we essentially hire in most of the organizations. So if you look to give that kind of flexibility, you're only going to be, I don't want to say popular, but you're going to be more real with regards to what people actually want when they come to work.
Thank you so much, Rajita, for those thoughts. Vinay, I'll quickly move on to you. The same question goes to you. Do you think EWA helps create a better employee experience, and are Indian corporates really ready right now?
100%. See, these are things that not everybody is going to access. Let's be real, right? Today you announce a policy, you're not going to have all your employees come up for an advance pay, right? But these are feel-good, real caring policies at the face of it. And let me tell you this, for most part of it, if organizations are not doing it themselves and they're outsourcing it to some partner who's going to do that, it's possibly going to be a paid service anyways, right? So the employee is anyways going to pay. The only advantage he or she has is that he gets access because of the tag of an employee, which, sort of just helps everybody. So I think India is definitely ready. While I hear Rajita's point on a lot of governance issues that can be raised, and that's also a reality. As an HR community, I think it's time that we go back and give these options, saying that let's work around these. Let's create an audit trail if required to ensure that we are compliant to whatever else that needs to be done. But it's more of things that we are open up to. Who thought banks could work from home? Who thought insurance companies could work from home? They're all working from home. They're all working well. So I'm an optimist, and I think this is definitely, you should do it.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. When I hear that, Gauri, I'm going to move on to you, and I'm going to ask you, based on what Vinay has said, I personally have an inhibition here. Okay, do you think an EWA policy could lead to higher attrition rates?
Yeah, it can be, even I think so. And somebody discussed earlier that there are kind of people, maybe it's more towards blue collar, not towards knowledge workers, where the policy will apply also, where most of the demand would come from also. Because people leave for 500, 1000 also, and that is one thing which stops them. And many times it's discussed even at the senior levels that had we not brought this policy, this wouldn't have happened. So yes, there is a possibility that it happens. However, I would go by the new thought process that we should not treat people the way we wanted to be treated, but how they wanted to be treated is the new thought process. And we have that demand and we have those set of people. So it is going to be there sooner or later.
Okay. Thank you so much, Gauri, for clearing that out. Dr. Harry, let me put all three questions out to you just to get a sense of where you are at. A, do you think EWA policy creates a better employee experience? B, do you think Indian corporates are ready for a pay-on-the-go culture? And C, do you think EWA policy could lead to higher attrition levels at the organization?
This policy has been there. It is there. It will be there. First of all, this policy is not a new policy as it is made out. This policy has been there. Organizations have been proactive to employees in their needs, in their actual needs. Organizations have been proactive. Organizations are proactive now. At a time when the pandemic is eating their little finances, savings that they had for themselves. Organizations are coming forward to help employees. I have seen organizations going out of the way to ensure that employees are fed, they are taken care, they are provided with whatever is needed. Organizations will continue to do it. But what makes them to believe in this philosophy, in this culture of being proactive to employees' needs is nothing but sustainability of business. Again and again, I am calling out this particular name because HR team, the human resources, the people that we are working for are expected to align with the business. And there is a continuous flow of revenue. When there is revenue ensured for the next, let us say, few years, and that ensures the profitability of the organization, the EBITDA of the organization, then naturally the organization comes forward to be proactive to employees. In the event of any of this missing, there will be a break in the chain. The management will start thinking about it. Why should I do it? How will I do it? What if my employees leave? What if my business breaks down? All these things question will come in place. Rather, let us as HR people need to ensure that our team is aligned with the business, and thereby business sustainability is ensured, and there is no problem for the continuous revenue flowing into the organization or to the EBITDA of the organization. Organizations need not get worried about employees leaving, employees walking out, employees dropping out, or that, I am going to lose all these advances booked in this whole year in a period of, what if 5% leave, 10% leave, without even paying back. All these questions would not be there. They will always be more than willing to write off, even if that happens. Any proactive organization, if you look at any successful, sustainable organizations, they have always been proactive to employees. They will continue to show their proactive approach to employees, not only now, in the days to come also.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Harry. I'll quickly move on to Mr. Chaitan. And sir, again, all three questions out to you. I can't pick and choose one. I really need to understand your perspective on everything.
No, I think it's a very good discussion. I think a lot has been said, but if I have to just say, I think still summarize, I think I'm going to emphasize that, like Dr. Harry just said, that it's been a policy, it's been there, it's needed. There's a very genuine need aspect to it. The other aspects are compliances, risks, your financial appetite. I think that depends on organization to organization, how you keep it. Thirdly, when it comes to risks, when you see from an employee perspective, somebody moving on, and it again depends on, which industry. I think one of the friend here said somebody on like the blue collar workers, or let's say white collar. I think all of those aspects, knowledge industry might behave slightly differently. I think the only point I will say is that, when it comes to checks, or let's say a little bit of verification part, I think like we have very intense checks. I think we do it once. After that, our whole proposition is all on trust. I think that's a very important point I would like to add, because we don't do after that any further or anything. The second bit is here, and then purely from Saurav's point of view, because I know in my last organization, I know Saurav was involved in, kind of offering a discount program, which I appreciate Advantage Club doing it. And I remember in EY, it was being done. See, what we need as a gap, and I think, and I'm saying this is my rewards experience and whatever I've seen in different markets. If I remember in the Philippine market, or let's say some of the other markets that I've catered to in my past roles, it is there, it is evolving. And I think probably it was Vinay was saying, or I think Rajita mentioned, we are right there. I think what comes in as a product, if you ask me, Tanya, is like, how do we kind of help it, get better managed? I mean, it's like, go back 20 years when, those compensation benchmarking used to be like a massive thing. And then, we used to always look towards the reports, back in US, how they do it. Maybe in the Bay Area, you can find out a market range. I think this is a market to be kind of a little bit kind of plowed, a little bit more from a service perspective. I'm coming more from Advantage Club's point of view, or for that matter. And I think for us, probably, my thought process is that for any HR leaders, or let's say business leaders, see, I think it has to be the value coming out for the employee. Because the fact is, this is all a very benevolent intent. But how you manage, how do you add value to the process is important. And secondly, the other fact is that I heard you sort of say that, and then you said that what you bring in, and you talked about the IRR. I think it's a little bit more the softer side of it. How do you bring in this concept with, let's say, one of the partners in, let's say, in an organization, and how you position it? Because many times even employees, are a little bit skeptical. How you position or package the service is very important, and it has to be seen from all those angles, right? Because I think I think nobody is saying or denying that there is no that there is a need. I think everybody's saying there is a need. The fact that how to make this whole process efficient, how to make it more de-risk, is something which I think I would say, Tanya, that is something for the market to look, for the leaders to look, and also for the providers to look. Because I think if there is a value, it's taken. I mean, just like my example on compensation benchmarking, maybe 25 years or 30 years, how much it has evolved now. I mean, India as a market has evolved phenomenally. Now you don't even look at, you can really, from India, you can look at the whole of the globe. Why? Because everything is connected. don't want to get into those space. I mean, that's not topic for the day today. But I think that's where, like for instance, if you ask me from a current perspective, do I look at can this service be even more better? Answer is yes, but somebody has to think to provide that solutioning, and I think that's something that has to be meaningful from all stakeholders' perspective, be it business, be it employee, and be the provider, and how do you create value? If it's there, I think adoption will be faster. So I'll hold my thoughts there.
Okay, thank you so much for those thoughts, Mr. Prakash. Can I move on to you, Saurabh sir, and ask you for your closing thoughts here, and of course your major takeaways?
No, so all the points that were mentioned were absolutely right. Like right from concerns and impact, who will be probably the beneficiary of such kind of product overall. And as it was rightly mentioned by Hari sir and others, that this policy has been there since a long time. It's just like what is necessary today. And I think companies are overall ready, like India is an inflection point for a product like this to become more democratized. And the use case has actually gone beyond blue collar. Like blue collar and retail has been classic use cases overall for such kind of products. But today, if you look at the TG, like especially the younger population which is there, the way they think about their life is very different than probably people who think 10 years ahead in the career path. So it becomes very relevant for 25-year-olds, 28-year-olds who come from very good background, good colleges, and they want to access their salary at times for emergencies, but even at time for personal requirements, which might be as simple as buying a phone, which doesn't seem very logical to probably all of us, but that's equally important to them. And if we can make it accessible overall, they will appreciate it more and will kind of stick around more in the organization and be a little more grateful for being part of the premium company that they work for. So that's where I think the value add lies, of course, covering emergencies as well as that. The second part is removing the entire social aspect of it. In a typical setup, otherwise someone will reach out to an HR, maybe ask their manager, and it creates a personal taboo in future for the employee. And a process-oriented structure can remove that, which can make it like more easy for people to kind of adopt. But ultimately, it will all boil down to making it seamless for employer, employee, and giving everyone the right experience. And of course, that's a job that we all have to do, like as service providers, to kind of figure out a way in which we kind of make best experience for everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Saurabh, for sharing those thoughts. One last question to all of you in the next 10 seconds, if I may ask for this to conclude this panel session here. What was that one turning point that all of you have had in your career, where you feel EWA has sort of changed the dimension, the ball game has changed in the last couple of years? Just quick thoughts from all of you. Rajita, quickly, we'll start with you.
I'm still thinking, Tanya, but I don't think anything has changed for me. The last couple of years at all, it's been the same. So that's it.
Okay, I can see Vinay also nodding in agreement to Rajita here as well. So there was no one point that came in the evolution curve of an early earned wage access?
Nope. I think there's always requirement of money that people have, right? So I don't think anything has changed. It's just that organizations are waking up to very, very short-term needs in the last couple of years. And frankly, they're waking up because there are organizations that want to provide line of credit and acquire customers. So it's a big circle, really, that's really creating this. But yeah, it's been there for a while. And microcredit is something that's growing tremendously in this country. And this is going to form a part of really microcredit lines that people will need.
Okay. Thank you so much, Vinay. Gauri, your quick thoughts?
Yeah, I think IG, not Instagram, but instant gratification can be one thing which we can point out to. Otherwise, nothing I would say has changed in last few years, but I would still say that it's more about having that education rather than these solutions are definitely there, and we discussed that these would be always helping. But first thing should be, are we really educating, because it's not taught in schools. So thinking about that particular wellness, a total piece of wellness would be much more important.
So I'll just, so while we are saying millennials and youngsters and all of that, I am sometimes out of cash, and I wish that I have a salary advance. Forget, it's not just a millennial thing. You may have so many things that you will keep doing, and suddenly, oh my God, I think I'm running short of a lakh and a half, some amount that you possibly can get as an advance. So it's really, all of us. And Gauri rightly said, we've never been taught financial discipline. It's only when our EMIs hit our accounts, we realize that, damn, I should have had some discipline in my spends, especially credit card spends. So I think, yeah, that's the way it is.
Fair enough. Thank you, Vinay. Quick thoughts from you, Dr. Harry.
So nothing has changed. It will not change. This will remain intact. As far as we are becoming more productive, see, it only changes for those who are productive, for those who are not productive within the organization. Even if there are policies, even if there are, set rules and regulations, if there is somebody who is critical, somebody is ultra productive, then people and the organization would go out of the way to ensure that his needs are met. If people, in spite of being part of an organization for years together and are not productive, even if they are at a senior level, their needs need not be met. This condition, this statement remains intact, and organization will continue to see through the best productive employees and be supportive to them. What we as HR people need to do is, again, I am insisting that making our resources more productive and bringing more of them into the circle of being critical to the organization would be our contribution to business alignment. Can we do it? That's a question that we can ask ourselves.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Harry. Mr. Chaitan, your quick closing thoughts.
I think I have a slightly different thought here. I mean, maybe, as I said, and I think I'm going to reiterate it again. I think for us, things starts with people. And I think, for us, rest, results and everything, comes later. And it does come, frankly speaking. And I say this with a lot of conviction. So frankly speaking, even of our benevolent front where we would not even want somebody to pay back the money, it's fine. As I said, I think it's all about how you invest in your people, right? And the fact that everything has a limit, you have a program, you have your financial bits about it, you will have it. I mean, if you asked about the last question, you said, what are the highs and lows of, those kind of things, if I got it right. I think I see more highs. I mean, I've seen in my career with many organizations, some of these advances have been very helpful at some very difficult time. And I think, as somebody said, we all need it. I mean, it's not that anybody is out of scope. Anybody can get it. I mean, I've had instances where I've had a major surgery at home, one of my relatives, and then, I had to really, we all had to pull in. So it does happen. So the fact is, it's going to stay. It's not going to change. The fact that, obviously there is a particular percentage or a kitty or, whatever is your program like, that you can change. It's all about, is the market getting evolved? Answer is yes, probably. Yes, it is getting evolved. Can providers help? Yes, why not? I mean, that's how we evolved. And I think it ultimately boils down to value. The fact is, yes, you can use this quite effectively to kind of really win hearts and establish that relationship of trust. You invest in trust, you get the trust back.
Thank you so much, Chaitan sir. And I'm just going to take a second to share the poll results with all of you. If you want to just take a look at the kind of thoughts everybody has on the R&R module in a post-COVID world and an EWA scenario in the company, I think that's something that would be of interest to all of you. I hope all of you are able to view the results here as well. So with that, I think I'm going to call this session a wrap. Thank you so much, all of you, for being a part of this session here with us today. Thank you for sharing such great insights with all of us. And of course, as I always say, one of the major reasons we do these conferences is also to create and facilitate a peer-to-peer learning between leaders from various segments and sort of understand and learn from each other on the go. Thank you so much, all of you, for being a part of this session. A recording of this session would be available on Observe Now's Facebook page within the next 5 minutes. Please share in your ecosystem. With that, thank you so much, and I hope all of you have a nice day. Thank you, Saurabh sir, Gauri, Rajita, Vinay, Chaitan sir, and Dr. Harry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.